Hello everybody. How is everyone tonight? Are you ready to paint? I'll wait till a couple people come on. But you know what? I'm just going to find myself in my laptop, on my laptop here while I wait for people to come on. It always takes a second. It's always delayed. So, oh, there's my first person. I don't know who you are, but hi. I don't see it yet. Oh well, I'll keep looking. Anyways, if you are coming on, say hi. Let me know who's watching. Let me know where you're from. I'm starting to get some people. I've been doing ads and I've been starting to get some people from different provinces now. So it's pretty cool because when I started, it was basically hi Wendy, I live in Ontario, so it was based around Ontario, all of my viewers. So I started getting Wendy, I know you're from Essex. I live like 2 seconds from her, but anyways, yeah, I started noticing some people from different provinces, so I thought it was pretty cool. Hi Tammy, glad you're here to paint with me tonight. This one's a fun one. I'm going to explain in a few minutes what we're going to be doing. I don't know why I can't find my live video on my page here, on my thing. They kind of set up my thing differently here. Oh, there I am. So anyways, okay, so if you're just joining, it is going to be a 2-night event, this paint night. For you who you're just joining and you didn't see the event page, I'm going to be doing it tonight and tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. There's a lot of detail in this painting, so I figured I'd split it up into 2 nights rather than keep everybody here for too long. Hi, Christine. So tonight, really what we're going to be focusing on is the background. We're going to be doing like the shading in here, the blending, and then just like the fence boards. We might get to the jar, and then I will leave tomorrow for, hi Amy, I will leave tomorrow for the flowers and all the details, because the flowers, they're layered, so they take quite a bit of time, but tonight we're going to be doing just the background, and then like if you can't join me for one of these nights, no worries, I am going to be reposting both videos, so if you can only come tonight or only tomorrow, they will both be posted for you. So we have an 11 by 14. I have a media paper here. You can use a canvas, a piece of wood, or media paper. I have a plate and some napkins, and then a 1/2-inch flat brush. What did Tammy says, Mom wants your copy so she can frame it. Well, I'll have 2, so sure. And then a small flathead and a pointed brush, just a fine tip pointed brush, just like a detail brush. We have, we are not going to be getting to all these colors tonight, but for both nights we will need a green. I have pine green. It doesn't matter what shade of greens you have. Everybody's can look a little different. I think that's what's awesome about art. So I have pine green. These are all from the Dollar Tree. Vivid yellow, brown, just brown, nothing fancy, white, black, and I have pure pumpkin orange, and I have Tutti Frutti pink. So those are all the colors we're going to need for both nights. And I have a blow dryer here. We are going to be using this quite a bit. When we blend, it's good to have our paint wet, but when we want to get that effect on top of the layering, it's really important to have our paint dry. So we are going to have a blow dryer. If you didn't grab one, you still have a few minutes to go grab one. We're not going to be using it right away anyways. Okay. I'm going to see if I can see myself on here yet. I don't know why my page looks so different. Oh, here it is. Okay. No, that's not it. Okay, I'll have to figure that out. Usually I'm on here. I don't know where I went. I disappeared. I guess I don't get to see myself tonight. Okay, so we're gonna start. So I'm gonna face the camera down, and I will try to see your comments as best as possible because usually I watch them on my laptop, but for some reason the format has changed and I can't see my own live video. So I'm gonna just be able to look on here. So it'll be flipped down, but I'll try to see your comments as best as possible. Okay. So we're gonna start with the background, and we're going to start with our 1/2 inch flat brush. We're gonna put our brown on our plate. Now, because this is the background, and we are blending, we're gonna put a decent amount because we don't really want it to dry before we blend. So we're gonna stick a good amount of brown on there. And then I'm going to put beside it a smaller amount of brown. And then I'm going to take some black, and I'm just going to put a little bit of black into the smaller amount. Just like that. You just want it to be a little bit of a darker brown. It doesn't have to be too crazy or anything, but just so you can see a difference between the two. And we're just going to mix it in. And you can play with this. Like if you add too much black, just put some more brown, or same way with the black. If you didn't add enough, just throw some more in there. So you're going to have kind of like a dark chocolatey brown, and then you're going to have a lighter one. And we're just going to load our paintbrush up. And we're going to start on the side here. And we're just going to go up and down. And we're going to try to keep, because the grains of wood go one way. So if you're going to have your grains going this way, which our painting is, then you're going to want to have your strokes of your brush going the same way. Because you're going to want to see, if you look at a real piece of wood, it doesn't have grains going opposite way. It's all one way. So if we were doing this painting, like the 14, like vertically, not horizontally, then we would be doing the strokes this way. But we're going to stick with this way for now. And we're just going to go about, I'd say like 1/3 of the way. And if you go a little bit more in, that's fine, because we're going to be layering it anyways, so nothing here is too strict. There's not too many rules, so just have fun. So as soon as we get to about there, we're going to go into the lighter brown. And we're going to get a good amount on our brush here. So I'll show you. I have it like globbed up pretty good there. And we're just going to go right over this line here and continue going up and down. And you don't have to wash your brush in between this step. This is how you get the blending with the two wet paints. And you can go over the dark where you did. You can keep going over and over here, and you'll see it starting to blend. So what happens is, as we keep going, you're gonna have it go darker into lighter, and then we're gonna go back into getting darker over here. But you kind of get everything that's on your brush kind of gets diluted. So if you started with the dark and you go in with the light, as you keep going this way, it's going to start mixing with the dark, so it's going to get darker, and then when you start coming back this way, it's going to keep getting lighter because you're adding more of the light. So that's kind of how you get, same thing if you're looking for like an ombre effect, that's how you would get that too. And I'm just going over this a couple times. Depends what paint you're using. If you are using dollar store paint like I am right now, then you're gonna probably have to keep going over a few times just because it's a bit of a thinner paint. If you're using something like Deco Art, something a bit more, a bit higher quality, then you'll probably only need 1 or 2 times to go over it. And we're just gonna keep going with the brown. So how was everyone's day today? I had a busy day. I went to my mom's store. She owns a clothing store, and I worked it for her today because she threw out her back. So I did that today before I came home, and then I made dinner and stuff. But I've had a pretty busy day, but it was all fun. Something different, a change of scenery. So then I'm gonna go back in, once I reach about another third, I'm going to go back in with the darker paint, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. So I'm just going to overlap that line. Just keep going up and down. When the paint is wet, it's pretty easy to work with when you're blending. If you want this to be a little bit lighter, then just adding a little bit more of that light brown will give you that effect. It's just really important when you're blending that it is very wet, because then you'll get like a dry, like jutted look, and it won't look as good. So I'll give you an example here. If I was to go down with this like that, see how I'm getting, it's kind of hard to see there, but let me see if I can move my laptop. So I would kind of see how I have a hit and miss look. That's what we're going to try to achieve on the layers above. But for this one, we definitely want a completely wet paintbrush. And if you run out, just mix some more. If it doesn't match exactly, it doesn't matter really, because we have a ton of different tones going throughout because of the way it mixes as you cross over. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It's getting covered up mostly anyways with the oranges and the coral. It's funny because a lot of the times with acrylic painting, there's so many layers, and you say, well, like, why did we really need that full bottom layer when we weren't going to see half of it anyways? But it just makes such a difference in the painting and the depth of the painting. It's crucial for acrylic paint to have lots of layers. I'm just going to go back into my light, and I'm just going to give it a one more nice coat here, just it's a bit thin. If you're working with anything other than an 11 by 14 tonight, anything bigger, then you might fall a little bit behind, but I'm going to try to go fairly slow and explain just in case you have a bigger canvas with you. But like I said, I will repost the video, so if you do fall behind, as soon as I'm done, you can go right on and check it out. Okay, so that's our first layer. What I'm going to do is stop and blow dry this. So we are going to need this brush again, but it's going to be different colors. So we're going to, I'll just put it in the water to wash it out. and we're just gonna blow dry this until it's dry. So I will be right back. I've just gotta go get some water in my cup. I forgot to put water. Okay, so as long as it's not shiny, then it should be dry. So I can put my hand here and nothing's coming up. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna put some orange on our plate. And we're gonna stick with our same brush here. So we're a 1/2 inch flat. And just make sure all your brown's out of there. Is everyone keeping up okay? Just give me a like or a heart if you're keeping up okay. Okay. So we're gonna go into the orange. And same thing, like a good amount of paint on there. And we're gonna start from the center of the page. So when our brush goes down, it's going to start all along in the center. So I'm going to put it down like this. Now we don't want to put the paint all the way to the edge. We want to kind of see that brown in behind, like really all along, but kind of like a border, but it's going to be like a messy border. So I'm not going to start right here. I'm going to move over a bit, and I'm just going to brush up like that. And you're going to get that effect of the brush ending, so it's not going to fully be like a straight edge. And you're going to go from there and you're going to go down and do the same thing. So on the edge of it, we are going to stay about 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the sides, maybe 1/2 inch from the side. And as we go into the center, we're going to bring it a little bit higher. It's just going to give us that weathered look. So when I'm doing this, my paintbrush is, when I'm going down, my paintbrush is down like this. And then when I'm going up, I flip it. And then my paintbrush is going back up like that. Because when you push down on one side of your brush, your paint is gonna squeeze through to the other side. So on your way back up, you're taking all that paint that's on that side and you're using it going upward. That way you don't have to get more paint. You kind of want to look like you didn't have enough paint on this. That's the effect you're going for. You're going to do that all along. So I'll show you closer so you can see. You are getting kind of that look there on the edges. just looks weathered and like it's worn out. And it can be sporadic. It doesn't have to be any certain shape. It doesn't have to be any pattern. If you looked at a natural weathered piece of wood, it would be varied. It wouldn't have a specific pattern. So that's what we kind of want to do here. And then to keep that same look of like a clear way, like a clear path, a clear pattern of these lines, we want to make sure we're going, once we set our boundary here with our first initial, we just want to make sure we're kind of smoothing that out along. So you don't want to get like a jud like that. You kind of want to make sure it's all still going one way. So I'm loading both sides of the paintbrush when I do this, not just one. It was nice because I got my daughter to sleep tonight before I did paint night. Last week she was up still and she was screaming because there was ants in her room, and then I had to pause for the cause and go kill some ants. And then she had mosquito bites and they were itchy, so she needed me to put something on them. And then my son came out of his room and was talking about my house being dirty, and I was like, my house isn't dirty. So I was like, this looks like a really good live video. Welcome to real life with kids. So everybody's quiet tonight. When I do these, when my husband's on days, I do these around 6:30. And then when he's on afternoons, I do them around 8, just so that I can kind of get my kids settled, or at least my daughter's sleeping, because my son's pretty quiet, but my daughter's very active. So I'm just gonna go over it while it's wet one more time. It doesn't matter if some brown is showing through, you kind of want that effect. I just want to hit and miss so that some brown's hanging out through, and then some places it's a little bit thicker. So that's just what I'm doing right now. And then just on this edge, it looks a little too straight to me, so I'm just gonna kind of get it to have a little bit of a hit and miss. And how I do that is if you hold your brush really flat, press down when it's not that full of paint, and you just go straight down, you will get that hit and miss look, as long as your paintbrush is not too loaded with paint. Kathleen says concentrating. Yes. Painting is such a peaceful time because you're so concentrating on just painting. You're not thinking about anything else. And that's why I love doing paint nights with everybody, in person or virtually, which is new since COVID. So for me anyways. So I always tell everybody when I start a paint night, we are going to be in the present moment. We're not in the future. We're not in the past. And that's just where we have the most fun and find the most peace. So concentrating on it is good. All right. So when we have that done, I'm going to take and we're going to blow dry it again, because next we're going to add the coral on top, and we want to kind of get that same effect. But if it's wet, you're going to mix the coral with your orange, and you're just going to get kind of like an orange effect. So I'm going to blow dry it again, and you can also wash out your brush when you're done. And we're going to go stick with the 1/2 inch flat still. Okay. You know what? I think you pronounced your name Barcello. Don't worry, I am going to replay this video. So if you didn't come in right at the beginning, as soon as I'm done, I am going to replay it. So this video is not going to be as long as a regular paint night. Here, I like to, so you can see me. It's not going to be as long as a regular paint night because I am going to do 2 parts. So tomorrow night you can join me at 8 p.m. Eastern if you want to catch the second half. If you happen to catch, if you can't catch up with this one, then just you can have time all day tonight or tomorrow to do it, or really any time because like I said, they're both going to be posted. But really what we just did so far was blend the background with brown, and then brown mixed with a little bit of black. So if you have any painting experience, I just blended darker on the sides and lighter in the middle, and then we blow dried that, and then I just went over with orange so far. So if you're not experienced and you're not sure of the steps, just this video probably won't be longer than maybe 1 more hour, I would say, and then you can see it and you can jump in and do it whenever you would like. All right. So we'll go back here. And we're gonna make coral now. So I don't have coral here, so I'm gonna make it. So you're gonna take your pure orange, pumpkin orange, or whatever kind of orange you have, and whatever kind of pink you have. I have Tutti Frutti. And we're gonna mix them together. Now you're gonna want a little bit more pink than orange, or it's just gonna look orange. So we'll put like a dime of, oh, maybe it's a quarter now, it's spread out, of orange, and then we'll put a little bit more pink on here. And there's like, you can mix it, so like, if it's not enough pink or whatever, once you do it, just add more of whatever color. I have to do that quite often. So we'll just wash our brush off here, and then we'll just mix this. Lorona says, oh, nice, that you're going to replay. I didn't get all my products. Yes, my videos are always replayed. So all the free virtual paint ones are replayed. Okay, so if you look here, I did a little bit more pink than orange. To me, that still looks too orange for me. So I'm going to add some more pink. And just, you know, get whatever color you like. We all like different colors, so some of you might not even be using coral. You might be using blues or greens or... That's just my dog shaking. So, okay, so we're gonna load up our brush again, and we're gonna do the same effect as we did with the orange, but this time we're not gonna do it right over top of the whole entire thing. We're gonna kind of hit and miss, and we're not gonna go necessarily as high either. So same thing, we're gonna start in the center. I'm using my media paper, so it's wrinkling a little bit. It does that when I have too thick a paint. So anyways, okay. So I'm gonna start in the middle, and I'm just gonna brush up lightly, and you're gonna get that coral effect over the orange. And I'm not doing it as often as I was to cover the whole area like I did orange. I'm just kind of going up and down here and there. And it's kind of a fast motion, so I'm light-handed, and I'm just going down fast, like that. And then as I come to the end, I lift up a bit. So if I start heavier-handed here, by the time I get to the edge, I'm using a lighter pressure, because that's what's going to give me that lift off of looking like I did not finish painting, which is what we want. So it kind of looks like if this fence was painted in real, that would be where it got weathered the most, if that makes sense. And same thing when I go up. So I'm starting heavier handed, it's thicker here, and I lift up. And then it gives me that. I go down and I lift up. If you're newer to painting, you will learn hand pressure for different techniques. It just takes practice and time. It's not a matter of not ever being able to do it correctly. It's just a matter of getting a feel for it. And just like with learning anything, it just takes time to learn. So starting in the center with a harder pressure, and then lift off. And then what I'll do sometimes is, if you can see how I have here, it's kind of hard to see because the colors are pretty close, but right through here there's no coral, it's all orange. So what I will do is sometimes just in the middle, I'll just kind of put another stroke. That way it's still connecting, but it's not connecting all the way as high as this, so it's kind of like a hit and miss still. Okay, so I'll just show you up close. And that's kind of, I don't know if the lights on there is good or not, but that's kind of what you got going for you right now. Okay. So now what we're going to work on is putting those black lines in that make it look like fence board. But once again, I'm going to just blow dry it just a little bit. It doesn't have to be as dry this time, but just so it's not too wet, I'm just going to blow dry it a little bit. How are you doing? Okay. All right, so now we are washing our big brush out, and we're not going to use it again right now, so we can put that to the side. And we're going to go with our smaller flathead here. I can get it out, stuck under my laptop. Okay, so we're using this one here. And what I like to do is, I just like to run my fingers over it just so that they're all the bristles are going the same way, and that we really want to achieve the skinniest part of the end right here. We don't want it flared out at all. So I just kind of place the bristles before I start. And I'm going to put black on my plate. You do not need a ton of black, just a couple little dots is good for this. And I'm going to see how I did this here. So we're just going to dunk the tip of the brush flat like this into, so like straight up and down, just take and do a quick dunk like that. So just the tip of the brush has paint on it, if you can see that, okay? There. And we're going to be using it sideways, the skinny way, so we can get those lines in there. So there's no right or wrong here. You can put as many boards as you would like. I have like basically 4.5 boards on here. So I'm just going to do it the same way I already did it. And what I did was I started one of the boards where it would be a little bit skinnier. So I would say maybe 2 inches in, and I'm just gonna put my brush flat down onto the canvas here, and I'm just gonna go straight up. Now, if you're more comfortable starting up and then going straight down, whatever you have more control doing, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So if it's not straight, that's no problem. We don't really want it to be perfectly straight. Just like that. And then you're going to redunk. Every time you do a line, you're going to redunk. And then from this point on right here, I'm going to take and kind of divide this here into half. So once you put that line, divide the rest of the page in half, and that's going to be your second line. And you're going to go straight up like that. So you'll have 2 lines. And then we're going to divide these 2 lines in half. So in between here and in between here, we're going to put another one. And as you can see, mine, like, here's a little bit thicker than here because I have a bump in my page. And it's not completely straight, but I'm not worried at all. That's not something that, it doesn't have to be perfect. Even the thickness of your lines, if you are heavy-handed and your lines are turning out a lot thicker than mine, I'm going to show you in a couple minutes how we're going to get the lines to look as thick or as thin as we want. So, no sweat here. Okay. And then we're going to take this line in here and divide it again. So we'll have 4.5 sections. Okay, and then you can clean off your brush. Okay. Is everybody okay if I keep moving on, or do you need a second? Just let me know in the comments, or give me a sign of some kind. Take a drink. Take a breath. A lot of people will say to me during my painting events, "How is your hand so steady? My hand shakes a ton." If you just, a lot of times you don't realize when you're painting, you're holding your breath. I don't know if it's because I do it too, like I still do it. I've been painting for 10 years. I think it's just the anticipation of just having something that you're creating and you're concentrating. So you don't realize you're really not breathing normal. So then obviously your body's lacking some oxygen, and so our hand will shake. I know it sounds kind of extreme, but if you just stop, take a deep breath, especially I find if I'm doing lettering, stop, take a deep breath, then go back to it, your hand's not going to shake as bad. That's just a tip there. But, okay, so we have our 4 lines, and what we're going to do is we should have some of that coral still left. If you don't, you can mix a bit more. And what we're going to do with the coral and orange is we're just going to go along these lines a bit so they don't look so defined. So I'm just going to put a bit more orange on my plate. Tammy says, where's your tea? I didn't make tea tonight. I have just water. I'm boring. Tonight's a boring night. I usually have tea, I know. But I kind of felt hot, and this weather's so hot right now. I shouldn't even be complaining. My husband's working in like 120-degree weather right now. But I'm in the air-conditioned house, and I'm still hot. But, okay, so we are going to go into the coral, because that's what we just did. And we're going to do the same thing that we did basically with the black lines. I'm just going to do the tip of the brush. And you're not going to go over the black line. You're going to go beside it. But you're going to go so close that sometimes it kind of hits the black, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to show you. It's hard because I'm left-handed and my camera is facing this way. But I'm going to stick and say, let me start again. So what I do is I dunk it in, but then just kind of, you don't want it thick. So just kind of tap a bit off on the side. And then you're going to stick it here on the black beside it. And you're just going to go down, but you're going to kind of hit and miss. So it's not going to be perfect. You don't want that line to be very defined. And it doesn't have to be over the whole thing. You want some of it to show. And you can do that on both sides. And then I'm going to go into the orange. You don't have to wash your brush. Tap it off a bit and just kind of just put some more orange here and there. Not all the way straight up, but just hit and miss. So when I'm brushing on there, my brush is flat like that, and I'm just going up and down on the skinny part. So sometimes even what I'll do, just to get a little bit more here and there, is you can tilt your brush, so you dunk it in like normal, and then right on this edge here, right on this side, like if you look at it as a little tiny skinny rectangle, on the edge of the one long side, if I hold it against my canvas, you kind of have it on an angle, and if you go straight down, you'll kind of get like thicker spots that will kind of make it look like it's not a perfect line too. So you can also do that, which helps. And everything I'm doing here is pretty light-handed because you want it to be a thin line. So I'm going to lift this up and show you the difference between these lines and this one. So you can see there, I kind of have it going over top sometimes, as opposed to these ones are looking like they're just laying on top. So that's what you want to do with all however many lines that you put on it, but I have 5, so, or 4 lines, so all 4 lines. Tammy says I had tea instead of alcohol. I'm a good influence. What kind of tea do you have, Tammy? I either have peppermint usually, or I do chai, like a chai, my own chai latte. Those are my 2 favorites. I do also have one called Clarity Tea, which is like a blueberry ginseng, which is also my favorite, but usually it's peppermint or the chai latte I do. So same thing, I'm just going down these lines, hitting and missing, not being perfect. There's nothing in this painting that's perfect. It's all hit or miss here. And if you want to do like all the coral first on the lines and go back to the orange, or you can switch back and forth, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I do both at the same time. You have blueberry? Yeah, that's a good kind. I love blueberry. I'm just going back over with the orange a bit. Because your top layer is the coral, you don't have to go straight down with the orange, or it's gonna look like the orange is popping through almost all over again. So you're just here and there. Is that, my mom says, blueberry muffin tea. Is that David's tea, Mom? I heard they're closing all their stores. Is this true? I think they're just going to be an online store now. I don't know if that's because of COVID or just because that was a decision they made, but I heard that on TV. That they're not going to have in-store anymore. So I think when the mall opens back up, they probably won't be at the mall anymore. And you know, you can play around with this. So like, say I did all orange here and I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's too much orange. There's never really a mistake you can't fix when you're painting. So you can go like right back into the coral and then you can just kind of go over that orange again if you feel like it's just too much. There's always a way to fix it. The only time you're going to have a hard time fixing a mistake is if you stain wood and then you paint something on it and you mess up, because it's almost, unless you re-sand it down and restart again, it's almost impossible to cover that stain. You cannot cover paint with stains. So that's really the only time. But if you're just painting straight acrylic and you make a mistake, there's never a mistake I came across that I couldn't figure out how to fix it. So there's always a way. So there's not really any reason to have any stress over if there's going to be a mistake or if it didn't go right, because there's always a way. Tammy says, can we not talk about that? It's a soft spot. What, the David's tea? You can still get it online, I think. Sorry. Okay. So when you're happy with your lines, we're going to go through and just put a little bit of black throughout here. So how we're going to do this is we're going to wash our brush first. And we're sticking with the small flat. So if you don't have black on your plate, you can put some more on. I still have some from when I did the lines. And you're going to take your brush and get it wet in your water. Because we're doing black, it doesn't matter if your water's dirty, because black is going to be darker than your dirty water anyways. So you're going to pull a little bit of the black to the side. And you're going to have like a watered down black. So inside your brush, it's going to be very watery. We don't even want it to be that strong of a black color. So what we're going to do after we do that is we're going to go back into our water here and just dunk it in and kind of brush it off the side. As you can see, the black paint is falling into my water. And you're going to keep doing that until you almost have like a transparent black on there. So if you can see, you'll know if you do it too dark because it's going to look like just a line on your page, and that's not really what you want to achieve. So I don't know if I'm going too close, but it's going to be watered down. So you can do like a little test and see. But what we're going to do is go beside the line here, beside the black line, and just kind of have, if you can see there, you want the paint to break up. So if you have more than 30% water in your paint, it's gonna start looking like particles. It's gonna break it up. You want to do that. You want it to be broken up. So it's gonna look just like basically water with some black particles in it. And that's what we're going for. So we're just gonna do that. And I'm just going completely flat and stroking all the way down. So keep going. As you need to add more black to your brush, feel free. It won't take a lot though to get that potency back up, so you're gonna want to put it back in the water. I'm just gonna kind of go down like this. And what this is doing is, it's just looking like it's weathered where the lines are. If you do go a bit dark and you don't like it, you can just wait for it to dry and you can go back over with the coral again. Hi, Mary. Tammy tells me you want to frame one of these. You want me to give you one of my copies. You gonna stick it on your wall, that bare wall I saw? See? And we're just gonna go down like that. And you can do this even a little bit like hit and miss. A little bit hit and miss, just down like this through here. Remember, the majority of this is going to be covered up with our flowers in our jar. So we just want to make sure the background effect looks good before we do that. And it kind of makes the wood just look dirty. And that's what we want to go for. Old weathered wood. Mary says yes, it's very bare. Yeah, you don't have one picture on there. Did you get any pictures up yet that Tammy did, or is she keeping them all for herself? Tammy, are you making me get rid of my pictures, but you're not sharing any with your mom? I see what's going on here. And you don't have to do like consecutively straight lines. You can do half lines as you go. So over here, if I just did, you know, halfway down, and then if I come up from here and then back down, just kind of hit and miss. So I'm just going to show you here. So say you do that and you feel like this is a bit dark here. You can always just wash off your brush. I'll show you real quick. Go back into the coral. And if you just go up and down here, you will get that to kind of look a bit lighter. If you wait till it's completely dry, you'll get even a better effect. Mine's a bit wet, so it's kind of blending, but just go along there. Like I said, acrylic is all about layering, so it may seem monotonous to do, let's say, the coral and then the black and then coral, but in order to get that effect, that's what you have to do. So I just kind of go back over with coral a little bit, not fully, just always on the edge of that new color. So I have black here, so just on the very edge. It's almost like I'm repainting the same spot, but I'm just hitting the edge of it with that paintbrush. Tammy, I like to keep mine. Okay. So once you get that desired look, that's basically all of the background minus, afterwards we'll go through with a little bit of white, but that will be tomorrow night. So I think tonight we're gonna, we will do the jar tonight, and then I think we'll stop there and then we can work on the flowers, because the flowers take quite a bit of time with the layers and the drying and all that. So we'll do the jar, and I'm just gonna give this a quick blow dry just so that our jar is not melting into these colors here. So I didn't tell anyone to bring like a piece of chalk or a pencil. If you want to kind of sketch out your jar first, we can do that. If you want to grab chalk or a pencil. If not, you can freehand it just with your paintbrush. I don't have a piece of chalk here. I think I'm just going to freehand it tonight, but you can gladly grab a piece of chalk and do it first. That way, if you're not 100% confident in it, you can always erase it and then do it again. So I'm going to keep this small flat brush here. And we're going to put some white on our plate. You don't need a ton of white, just a couple little dots. I've got some funky bubble going on here. Okay. All right. So if you did yours exactly like mine, where you have these lines evenly spaced out, I'm going to show you how to draw the jar according to the lines. If you did more lines, then you can kind of just eyeball it. But what we're going to do is dunk the brush in like we were for when we did the black lines, and we're just going to tap it. We want to have a very light amount on the brush. So if you look in between the first set over here, I'm not sure how my camera's showing up to you. Yeah, it shows that I'm using my, okay, it looks like I'm using my right hand, but I'm actually using my left hand. But this is actually going to be the right side of my page. So if you look at the last thing here and you go in the middle of it, that's where we're going to put our first line for the jar. And it's going to be about a third of the way up. So I'm just going to take this flat and go straight up till I am about 1/3 of the way. Just like that. That is kind of far away from the camera. Here, I'll show you. So that's what we have so far. Just one little tiny line. About 1/3 of the way up, halfway through the first plank of wood on the right side of the page. And then we're going to take a little bit more paint and just dab it off. And we're just going to angle the jar a bit. So it's only going to be maybe, I'd say 1/2 inch to 1 inch on an angle. So that we're going to do it. So a 45-degree angle, and we're going to go just about 1 inch up like that. So now we have it dented in a bit, which here, I will show you what I'm trying to achieve here. So we got this here. So we just did this, and now I'm just going on a 45-degree angle on this line here, which is about 1 inch long. And then we are going to skip over to the third one. So from the left, so you got your half one, and then 1, 2 here. And we're gonna do it about another line straight up. maybe about a little bit more to the left side. So not directly in the middle, a little more to the left. Hopefully this isn't confusing everybody. And just straight up, same amount. And then we're gonna do the same thing here and just want an angle here. Go up there. Just like that. So you'll have the base of your jar set here. And I'm just going to go back over with a little more coral because I just put it a little bit high here. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a straight line connecting the two. And it's going to go over just a little bit on each side. So what we can do is start a bit over. And just put the brush straight down and then just go straight across and go over a little bit more again. Okay, and then we're gonna draw the top of the jar. So I'm going to go and do another line about an inch up. So just like that. And then we're gonna have, they're gonna be like little half C's, little half circles. So I'm not gonna do it straight down, up and down, like right here. I'm not gonna go straight up and down. I'm just gonna kind of bevel it out a bit. And how I do that is I'm just putting my brush down and then I'm just curving it. And then that's what it will look like. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have one defined line like right here, just that's kind of like a reflection. So we'll dunk the brush in like we have been and kind of tap it out, and then we're just going to go in and down a bit. So I would say like 1 inch in and one inch down, and we're just going to do like a little L shape that's upside down. So just put it down and then just kind of do an L shape like that. Now for our next part, it's going to be kind of like a little bit foggy. It's not going to be a straight solid line like these have been. It's going to be a bit foggy to give that glass effect. So we're going to kind of do what we did with the black. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to go clean out my water because it's really muddy. And for this, you kind of want to have that white effect. So if your water is looking like this, just take 2 seconds and just go refill another one or empty this one out and fill it back up. So I'll be right back. And I'm just gonna go do that real quick. Okay, so I got my clean water. And I'm just gonna take and I'm gonna put some white on my brush. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of pulling some away from the main, just pulling a little bit away, and then I'm tapping on both sides like that. So it's not by any means thick. And then I'm gonna take and do the same exact thing I did for the black. I'm gonna put it in the water and just kind of squeegee it out on the side here. And I'm going to do that a couple times so that what I end up with is just a foggy brush. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lay the brush flat like this right against this line right here. So for me, this is actually my left side of my jar. And I'm just going to lay it flat and I'm just going to come down like that. Now see here, to me that's a bit thick still, so I'm going to rinse it out a bit more because it's too solid. I want just like a foggy effect. I want to be able to kind of see the orange behind. I'm just going to come down like this. I'm just going to go very light-handed. And it's going to be kind of the same effect that you had when you did the edges of these. So nothing is going to be, there's not going to be a defined line at the bottom or the top. And I'm going to do the same exact thing over here. And if you find it's too thin, you can just add a little bit more white. And I'm going to do the same, just a little bit lighter on the opposite side. So nothing as thick as that one, but just kind of like that. So I have, it's kind of dripping there. I'll fix that, but see how you can kind of see in behind the glass? It looks like you can see through it. And then we're just going to take and add the same effect right in the center, but going this way. So I'm actually going to be moving my brush sideways like this. So I'm going to load my brush up with the white. I'm going to dilute it in the water. And then I'm just going to have it flat, so it's flat against the page, and just kind of going like hit or miss here. So very light-handed. You can add a little bit more white if you need to, and then just kind of follow the line. You'll see it gives that same effect there. So as we go down, we're kind of like making little Zs. And then as we go down, they're getting smaller and smaller. So after that, we're just going to work on the top here. So we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go into the white. And we're going to hold the brush like we did for when we did the Zs or the Zs, wherever you're watching from. ZZ. Okay. All right. And then I'm just going to make little lines here. But I'm going very light-handed. So I want the effect of them being thicker than thinner and even missing a bit, coming back in here. And then basically where I went thinner, then I'm going to start another line, and that's where it's going to be a bit thicker, and just kind of alternate like that all the way through. Just like that. And then we're going to give it that milky look again. So I'm going to take and I'm going to dilute the brush. I think it's raining outside again. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of just give it the, just kind of brush it to the side here. And that's where that effect will come in. And you can, like, once it kind of dries, you can see if you want it to be a little bit, like, stand out a little bit more here. You can just go back in with your white and just kind of touch up thinly, like, those lines, just so they stick out a tiny bit more. Kind of like a reflection. And just like that. time is it? 9:08. So I think I'll stop there for tonight. And tomorrow we'll come on and I'll do the flowers. There's going to be quite a bit blending through the flowers. And then we have these here. So we'll have these little flowers coming out. And then the actual flower itself, I think, has like 4 or 5 layers. So we'll do that tomorrow. I'll add in the stems and then all these little white marks here. And then it will be finished. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them like in the comments and then I can read them for tomorrow. But I will be coming back live at 8 p.m. Eastern. So depending where you're watching from, that might vary in time. But I hope you had fun doing this. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And then come back and join me tomorrow night. My husband will be home, so there definitely won't be any interruption from the kids, but there wasn't anyways. They did amazing. So we never know what we're going to get here, but I had fun with these guys, and yeah, I think that's really all I had to say. And I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for joining me, and I'm going to replay this video immediately. So if you are not caught up or you need to go back and recap, it'll be there for you. Thank you so much.